I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Former President Trump compared his administration to the Biden administration during a Saturday rally in Anchorage, Alaska. The former president took a victory lap over Roe v. Wade being overturned in June. All three of the justices who he nominated, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett, voted to overturn Roe last month. There have been rumors that the former president is about to announce he is running for the White House in 2024. According to a poll released earlier this month by Emerson College, Trump leads Biden 44% to 39% in a hypothetical 2024 rematch. Listen in for more.
You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and then put them all together, mix them all up, and they would not have done the incredible damage that Joe Biden has done to our country in less than 2 short years. 2 years. The contrast between the Trump administration's amazing success, and even the other side says we got to hand it. And as you know, last week we had a lot of success in many ways at a place called the Supreme Court. You saw what happened? Ronald Reagan fought and tried to do it, and everybody did, but 4 things came down last week: on guns, on religious liberty, on the environment, and Roe v. Wade. That was a big week. They've been trying on all of it, but they've been trying for many, many decades, and we got it done. The contrast between the Trump administration's amazing success and Joe Biden's breathtaking failure could not be more stark. So let's look at the facts. I got gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. And they have it at $5, $6, $7, and even $8 a gallon, and it's going higher. I gave you the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. The radical Democrats are working like hell to impose the largest tax hike by far in American history. You do know they're looking to raise your taxes by a lot to pay for the Green New Deal. You know, based on the Green New Deal, remember they started at 12 years. You only have about 7 years left. I don't think anybody's too worried, right? You could worry about nuclear warming, but you can't worry about the global warming. The global warming, they said the other day, I heard somebody, that the oceans are going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 300 years. We have bigger problems than that. We'll have a little bit more beachfront property. That's not the worst thing in the world. And they're working feverishly to pile on more regulations at levels never seen before. Under the Trump administration, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world with no inflation. No inflation. And before the plague came in from China, we had numbers that nobody's ever seen. Then we did a hell of a job, never got credit for that. More people died under Biden, you saw that. And the job we did with COVID, or as some people call it, to be more accurate, the China virus. But we did so much in terms of therapeutics, and a word that I'm not allowed to mention, but I'm still proud of that word. Because we did that in 9 months, and it was supposed to take 5 years to 12 years. Nobody else could have done it, but I'm not mentioning it in front of my people. But someday we're going to have to all sit down and have a little talk. But you know what? We did a hell of a job. Biden created the worst inflation in 40 years and going higher. It's going much higher, which is costing families nearly, think of this one, $6,759 a year, bigger than any tax increase ever proposed by anybody. Numbers like that are unthinkable in terms of a tax increase, but that's what you're paying your price for inflation. And we had no inflation. We had it down so good. And you know what caused the inflation? The energy. When the energy started rocketing up, everything else went up. We created 7 million new jobs. We had a record 164 million people working, far more than now. We achieved the largest poverty reduction in 50 years. We lifted 7 million people off of food stamps, and we lifted 10 million people off welfare. 10 million people off welfare. Under Biden, there are still 4 million people who have not returned to the labor force. Real wages are just absolutely collapsing, especially when you add inflation. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And the misery index, did you ever hear of the misery index? It's real. Is soaring to heights that we've never seen before. The misery index. That doesn't sound too good. I rebuilt our military, including nuclear capability and the creation of Space Force. And in your case, I can say it, much of it has come to a place called Alaska. Did you ever hear of it? Much of it. Much of that military has come to Alaska.